Hello there, YouTube, and welcome to the inside of my head. Today's topic will be about the meter. Like literally the meter, not 1 meter or any other distance measured in meters, but the original meter. I have been making one video about the kilo, which is an object placed in Paris in France, but it's not no longer defined of that. But that was at least the most interesting way the kilo has ever been defined. And the meter is kind of the same story. Unfortunately, I don't have any good object to show you. And I'm talking about the meter, not any exciting at least. I have this measurement tape here, which can measure a meter. But it's not even that great because it actually goes to 150. And for some reason it's actually 160 in the length. It makes no sense, because why do you stop with 150 but then make it 160 in length when they can start at 0? That's a whole other thing. So it's not even 1.5 meters, it's 1 meter and 60 centimeters. So I cannot really show you that is 1 meter, because that's 160. So it will not be that. I've actually folded a lot of time at 1 meter because I like to show people how much 1 meter is for some reason. Yeah, I can kind of, it will be ugly, but this is 1 meter. Or is it? Because is it exactly 1 meter? Not well, my fold is probably not exactly. But also it has lost something in the end here, so it's probably not exactly that in meter. But also, is the measurement tape exact? Well, it's kind of a bit stretchy, so actually I can stretch it a bit and then make it more than 1 meter, but it still says 1 meter. So I can make a long meter just by stretching it, so it will become more than a meter. So, of course, this is shit to show what a meter is. And of course, that's not the definition of the meter and have never been. The definition is way more precise than that. But actually, as I was talking about in the video about the kilo, the 1 kilo, original 1 kilo prototype in Paris was made in 1799. And actually, before that, again, if you haven't seen the video or don't remember or don't know it or whatever, the prototype kilo is a cylinder. Of course, they weigh exactly 1 kilo, so a fairly small cylinder made of 90% platinum and 10% iridium. So very expensive 100% metal cylinder placed in Paris. It weighs exactly 1 kilo because it is 1 kilo, but it weighs what you think is 1 kilo too. It just weighed it more exactly than other 1 kilo things you have. However, 6 years prior to that, which means in 1793, then we actually made the definition of 1 meter. And that was actually, surprisingly enough to me, it was actually defined upon something. It was not just somebody taking a stick and says, let's say this stick is 1 meter, and then just calculate everything from that stick, and then we have something to go for. But it was actually defined by something natural, you can even say, and very precise, but also kind of a stupid definition. However, it could sound like a clever idea if you did it properly. However, the meter was defined in 1793 by the distance you will travel if you're going from the North Pole down to the equator. And it was exactly measured if you was going over France. And what does it mean to go over France? Well, the North Pole is in the top, and that is kind of everywhere on the planet, because no matter how you turn the world, North Pole is always on the top. Equator is just the middle ring around the world, so no matter how you turn the world, the equator will always be below the North Pole. So just to make something precise about it, it was going from the North Pole down through France and to the equator. So that means, because France is in the south of Europe, but also in the middle of Europe, they were going down all of the countries in the middle of Europe. So they were going through Denmark and Germany, and then France, and then down to Africa to the equator. That was how they measured. They measured in a straight line like this. But how do you measure that? And how do we do it from 2 years ago? Well, now we can use some objects out in the space that can shoot some lasers or something. But from 200 years ago, when they basically had to walk the distance themselves. And I have not even got it myself how they did it and how they think it was so precise, but it took a long time apparently, and a lot of math. However, that also means that it's not exactly measured properly. And that's what you can see today, because if you look for, if you have not got it yet, from the North Pole to the equator will be exactly 1/4 of the world, the circumference of the planet. If you then go from equator to South Pole, then you have a half. From South Pole to equator, then you have 3/4. If you go from equator back to North Pole, then you have a full round. So it will be a quarter of round, a quarter of around the Earth. But how long is the Earth in circumference? Well, it is exactly 40 millions and 750. Well, it's probably not. It's probably more precise than that. Let me just look up. There's a more precise. It's exactly 40 million and 75,017 meters. So that means it's 75,017 meters more than what it should be. And that means, because they only measure the quarter, so I have to divide that by 4. And that would be, if we had, we can also round up. No, let me do it precise. Fuck that. So we have the zoom for 6, so that would be 18. And then we have 3 left, so that's 3/4. And then we have 17, so that would be 4 1/4. We can skip the quarter, I think. So it'll be around 18,754 meters we have measured wrong at the time we measured the distance. And that we know now, because now we have measured the Earth properly. But does that matter? Well, it doesn't, because now we can just say that the Earth is exactly this number instead of exactly 40 million meters. So, problem is solved there, because we just changed the definition of the size of the Earth, which also makes more sense because it sounds more precise than just saying 40 million. But 40 million was actually precise at the point where the definition was made. So, well, now the Earth circumference sounds more precise. So win-win, I guess, or something. It works out, at least. What we did when we have defined the meter, like wrong, but at least we have agreed on a definition, because it was the only time we have ever measured the Earth, so we don't have to do it again. We just measure it once, and everybody think, well, that's good enough for me. Then they made actually a platinum iridium bar. So they used the same principle as I did with the kilo, and this was made 6 years before the kilo. So actually the kilo took inspiration from this. But they did the same thing by making 90% platinum, 10% iridium bar. So they actually make a long bar that doesn't weigh exactly 1 kilo because the weight doesn't matter. But they made a long bar that was exactly 1 meter in length. And then they just say, this is a meter, end of story, that's it. And then they made, I don't remember, I think they made like 20 or 40 1 meter marmor stones they put outside some walls around in Paris. So there was no platinum in these, it was just marmor. And so it was marmor bricks getting out, and then there was some cuts in the marmor where between these two cuts that was a meter. And the marmor doesn't tell a long story, but on the marmor there was engraved the word meter. So people knew that, okay, meter, that's it. So it's kind of funny, not so clever because it was very few of them and it was only in Paris, not in the whole world, not even the whole France, only in one city in France. And it should be spreading to the whole of the world. So of course that was being done in another way. But it was the whole world that agreed. Everything of these measurement stuff happened in France, apparently. But it was the whole world that agreed on all of these things. There was some voting and people agreed on it and stuff. But the funny thing today is that one of these marmor bricks is still not removed. All the other are removed for some reason, but one of them still persists today. So actually, I think that's the most interesting thing you can see in France. Not to hate on France, but people see the Eiffel Tower and expensive streets of Paris, but don't really see these interesting things. These are the fundamentals of our whole civilization today. And people don't see that. People see all the things that doesn't really matter. All the pretty things or expensive things. Not things that matter to the world. But we have these interesting things in France. Actually, people are just walking by. This is the same thing is people don't know about these at all. One thing is, if people rather want to see Eiffel Tower than this, but we don't even know. We just walk by and we don't know there are them. We walk by without knowing anything about them. So that's strange and stupid for me. I think it's important and it should be kept remembered forever. So. But what happened then to the meter was that it got redefined. If you have seen my video about the kilo or knows about the kilo, I think not many people knows about how the kilo has been defined, but I think it's actually still a more popular story than the meter, to be honest. So if you know about that, then you were thinking, yeah, it got redefined in 2018 or 17 or what was it? Yeah, it's a couple of years ago, that's fine. But the meter actually got redefined way before that. I should remember. We had this is the first definition. That's the most interesting thing, of course. Or don't they say? How will they do? Blah, 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 blah. Come on, where did it happen? I cannot find it, that's so annoying. I just need a number. I just forgot the number. Oh my god. Oh, I think it's here. Yes, it was in 1960. So it wasn't like a couple of years later. It was century later, but it was not in 2018. It was back in all the way back in 1960, where we redefined the meter to be the krypton standard. Krypton is a gas, and to make a long story short, it was just the meter was just defined out of this gas, krypton 86, and a number of wavelengths in vacuum. So, which number of wavelengths is it? Well, the number of wavelengths that is needed to make a meter. How many is that? Well, that's 1,600,000,000. Well, I have to be sure about the punctuation. No, I think it's a point. No, I think it's 1,650,763.76 wavelengths. That's the exact number there is on a meter. And the reason why it's such a strange number is because it's made after the meter. So the meter is not changed. They have just measured how many wavelengths goes to a meter. Like the exact meter from Paris, the platinum meter from Paris. And then after making that measurement, you don't need to switch out the platinum pearl, and you don't need to make copies of it. You just need to have a laboratory where you can measure that. And maybe that's more expensive, but if you really want it precise, then you can do it yourself. That's the point of this. So from that date, the definition of the meter was 1,000,000 something wavelengths, which was measured very precise and measured to match the meter. But after that, the meter was measured to match this number. So kind of the same story as with the kilo and every other thing we have redefined. We have never redefined anything to change it like a lot, at least. When we redefine thing, we redefine it so it matches the old definition too. However, it is like a universal constant, like real universe, like a natural thing that happens these wavelengths, and it is kind of a constant. So it is what we have done in 2018 too, where we have made everything fits a constant, so everything is defined out of a universal constant. However, or that's what you really want to do with a definition, to make it as precise as possible. However, they found out that this wavelength thing was not really constant. It actually changed a little bit, so it was not for real a constant. It changed a little bit, but it was very precise, and still more precise than the pearl of platinum. The platinum pearl changed more than that, to be honest. So, but it was still like, it could only be that precise, and then no more, because we could not be sure, because it changed a little bit. So it would be a little bit fluctuating and stuff. So what it did was that in when was it, in some year, something. Which year was it? Why? Oh, it was 1983 that they changed the definition again. So that's only 23 years later. And again, the first definition hold hundreds of years. So again, the longest period of time the meter has been defined by a platinum pearl, and the longest period of time the kilo has been defined by a platinum cylinder. But this only holds 23 years before they find out that it was not that precise anyway, and it was kind of shit. And stupid to change the definition to something also unprecise and changing. So at that point in time, they changed the definition to something to do with the speed of light, or more precise, the length light have traveled in 1,299,000 or millions, 700 92,458 parts of a second. So by other means, how fast is light? Well, it travels 299,792,458 meters in a second. So if you change that around and make it that part of a second, how much have light then traveled? Well, a meter. Because if that's the number of meter light traveled in a second, then that's the parts of a second it will take light to travel 1 meter. So how did we came up with that number? Well, that's how we have measured light. That's the speed of light we have measured. So we just take the speed of light we have measured and then change it around and make the meter depend on that without changing anything. But what they did to make it easier was they actually changed it a little bit. Because when we measured the speed of light, it was not exactly, let me say it again, 299,792,458 meters a second. But there was some point something numbers after. There was some decimals too. So it was not exactly that number when we measured the light, the speed of light. But what they did was they turned it around and said that's how much a meter is when light travels in such part of a second. But then they just removed the decimals. So they actually made the meter a bit, I'm not sure if they rounded down or up, so either they made the meter a bit shorter or a bit longer, but they made the meter fit the definition of speed of light without the decimals. So they also made it easier to like talk about the speed of light and to use the measurement later. And I think that's kind of okay, because we are still talking around 300 millions of a second. It's not a thousandth of a second. Like 100 of a second, that's something we can kind of feel. But a thousandth of a second is already that small that we cannot really see a difference anyway. But we're talking 300 millions of a second. Not even millions of a second, but 300 millions of a second. So what decimals you have after that number doesn't matter at all. We like the length meter has changed. It's not even a micrometer. We are talking maybe picometers, and that's, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, a millimeter is a thousandth of a meter, a micrometer is a millionth of a meter, a nanometer is a billionth of a meter, and a picometer is a trillionth of a meter. That is probably around that size we have changed, so it's like nothing. It's like I have bended this the wrong way and lost more in the end than that. So this is less precise than that. So no matter how we define the meter, if it's the speed of light without decimals or with decimals, it doesn't change how unprecise this is. These kind of measurements will always be very unprecise, and it will be no way near the precision difference was that we made by removing the decimals. So now the meter is exactly the speed of light thing. And should I say more scientifically correct, the meter is nowadays exactly defined after the speed of light. And that happened in 1983, and it has been the same since then. So we are almost celebrating 40 years of that measurement. Again, the first platinum pearl from France was surviving for more than 100 years. So we are not overtaking that type of definition. But we are getting close. It has been defined in like that in lots of years. To compare, the kilo has only been defined of the new definition in the last 5 years. So it's not even close. It's a very new thing, but the meter is actually not a new thing. it's long ago the meter has been defined by the platinum pole. To be honest, in all of my life, the meter has been defined by the connection to the speed of light. So that was how the meter was defined and is defined, and the different definition and how they were made and stuff. And I sadly don't have a meter pole, but I actually had that. I had a wood plank. If a plank is not always made of wood, but however, now I'm totally sure what I mean. That was made of wood. I was about to say it was made of wood. There was exactly 1 meter in length. And I have kept that for a long time and actually used it to take some measurement when I have to measure like dirty stuff outside where I don't want to use this, and also when I have to measure like things a lot, like many meters, then it's easier than to do this and then draw something. Then you can just take the plank and put it down at a couple of times, like flip it around, and then you can say 1 meter, 2 meter, 3 meter, 4 meter. So I've used that a lot, but I don't have it anymore, sadly. Now I only have these measurement tapes. I have no space in my apartment to have such a meter plank anymore. However, I do have something else. I have my own body, and I've always liked to use my own body as a measurement tape. And many people have find this strange, but I have like always done that. I know a lot of distances connected to my body. For example, I know how much 25 centimeters. No, I don't know that, to be honest. But I know 21 centimeters. I know that's not it either, because 21 centimeters is the distance between my 2 fingers when I do this. This is it, the distance. It's hard to show because it's a distance here. That's 21 centimeters. And people actually say that that's the same length as your, but I can tell you that's not true. But we should not talk about my dick, because that will become a long story. And I should credit Lil Wayne for that, because that's where I have it from. It is one of his songs. It's the best joke he has ever made. However, I have something better, I think. When I stand up with straight legs, I cannot speak. Then for a long period of time in my life, then my pants stopped exactly 1 meter over the ground. Sadly, I don't know if it's because I'm putting my pants higher up, or because I have grown, but last time I measured it was 1 meter and 5 centimeters. Now, the good thing about that is that the thickness of this part, the lining of the pants, is actually most of the time precise or close enough to 5 centimeters. So I just have to measure from the bottom of my pants lining here. So that is exactly 1 meter on my body. Normally, it depends on the pants. Again, like now it's 1 meter, 1 centimeter. But normally it's 1 meter. When I have measured, it's 1 meter. So it's close enough for me to say that's 1 meter in height. Close enough, kind of around. That's around 1 meter in height. I can say that fairly confident always, because I have these known measurement of my body. I also know something else. I know that this finger is exactly 9 centimeters and my thumb is 5 centimeters in length, of course. I also know that the width of the last part of my little finger is exactly 1 centimeter in width. So I also know how much 1 centimeter is. So I have a lot of these measurements. At some point I also knew how long my arm was like this, but I have forgot because I don't use that length so much apparently. Also knew how much my leg was to my knee, but I'm not sure either how much that was. So I have forgot some of them. I actually also know that this is also 21 centimeters from the bottom of my hand to the end of my longest finger. So it's funny how many 21 centimeters you actually have on your hand. Also something with the width, I also knew that, I have forgot what that is, but I also knew that at some point. Oh yeah. That's quite neat actually to measure stuff fast. Like then I can measure this banana for example, then well it's actually exactly 21 centimeters. That's how I can measure. So I can pretty fast and easy and confident say that this banana is 21 centimeters. And I mean, you don't need to know exact 21 centimeters, but then around 20 centimeters, I will know that. So this is smaller. I would say this is around 15, probably 17. So measured. No, it's not 17. No, if this is no 13. I would say this is 13. So I can measure it. Oh, it's actually exactly 13. I have not done this prior to recording. If I had, then I will not guess wrong, but it is exactly 13. And again, exactly, kind of exactly. That's how exactly I can measure with my eyes, because of course it's not exactly 13. That would be a circumstance, a coincidence. I don't think has happened, because I don't think it matters how the size is, because it's a weight that matters, and not even exactly 1 kilo. So the size is of course not exactly either if you compare to the meter from Paris or the definition from the speed of light, which are not even the same. So depending on which one you have measured this hammer from, it will not be exactly if you compare to the other definition. But again, it's small differences. If differences are so small, our humans should not care about in our everyday life if that doesn't matter a lot, you know. So this has been the definition of the meter, and a lot of thinking about that, and going off topic with that, but also a lot of interesting facts about it. And that will be the end of this video and the conclusion on this interesting historical traveling through the measurements and the facts surrounding them. So that be the conclusion of the meter, and let me end the story of the meter here, like the meter's definition by a platinum pole has ended. Well, this time my camera overheated instead of died, because now it's in power and I began to keep it in power when I record, but this time it just overheated. But it did it exactly when I was about to end this video. So anyway, I was talking about that I was saying something about a platinum stick from Pirates, and then I will just say for once again that it's a platinum iridium stick. That was the definition of 1 meter and has been the definition of 1 meter for the longest time. So just to phrase the meter definition, I really appreciate that that was the definition of the meter for the longest period of time we have had international value of measurement. Do you say that? Whatever you say. Oh yeah. I hope you learned something in this video. If not about the meter by itself, then something about the kilo or something I ramble about when I get off topic. I didn't went off topic that much, but I have rambled about a lot in this video anyway. And if not, I hope to just find some parts of this video just a bit interesting sometimes at least, or guess got a laugh or something of my stupid way of thinking and my long histories when I talk about stuff. If you like the video, consider subscribing for more of the Inside My Head videos, or take a look at my channel to see my other videos. I have travel vlogs, gaming videos, unboxing and tech reviews, and other stuff too. Take a look, see if there's something you like. There probably is, or maybe there's not. I don't really know what there anymore, so. But if you really like this video, then like it. I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.